What's up, everybody? Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life, and I am ecstatic about today's broadcast and bringing it to you here midweek on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. You know, they give you the list of topics for the day as well as the guests we're going to be having. So Ma and Paz, which you could find on 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, bringing you all of the great news and positive news in your morning, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We have an awesome show set up for you wherever you're listening and watching us on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're connected to us, we appreciate you so very much for hanging out with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We have an awesome broadcast set up for you this morning as we make history with Susan Kim. And so history on top of history, Susan Kim, the first person of Asian descent to ever become a head coach on the Heights at LeMoyne College, coming from South Korea, and she will be leading the women's volleyball team, and we're making history with her this morning on top of that history, as this is the first conversation she has had since becoming the head coach. So we have the exclusive first interview as part of our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with LeMoyne College. So we have the opportunity to share Susan Kim's story with you today from Susan, which I'm very excited to speak on her South Korean background as well as her family, traditions, food. So get hungry wherever you are this morning. Hopefully you can get yourself some food while you watch and listen. And of course, we're also going to be discussing her journey from the high school teams to the Division II on the NCAA side to the Division I, and the multiple institutions that she's been at. So we'll discuss her journey to get to LeMoyne, why she believes LeMoyne is a good fit for her, as well as recruiting during a holiday week, and so much more. Susan Kim joining us for a very special Dolphin Dive / the Road to D1 series, as I'm talking with coaches like we did yesterday with Scott Cassidy of the baseball team, speaking with the coaches at LeMoyne about preparing for Division I in our Road to D1 series, which is an extension of the Dolphin Dive. Well, this is a threefer, as this is the exclusive first interview that Susan Kim has done since accepting the job at LeMoyne as the women's volleyball head coach. Plus, it's the first Dolphin Dive. Plus, it's a Road to D1 series because we'll be talking about her leading the Heights into Division I for women's volleyball. So a lot of great stuff coming up with Susan momentarily. And then in hour number 2, every other Wednesday, bi-monthly, we have our Blessings and Baseball segment with Dukes Knutson and myself, Dan Tortora, bringing you our thoughts on the baseball world as well as spreading our faith in a positive and productive way. So a lot of great stuff coming up here as we'll speak on the Home Run Derby. Of course, the Tampa Bay Ray that was in the Home Run Derby, Randy Arozarena, and we'll also discuss the Major League Baseball All-Star Game and more in the baseball world and speak on faith, as well as Dukes Knutson works with the Tampa Bay Rays as their press box manager, and on top of that, works in the faith side of things and helps out minor leaguers and major leaguers to have a place where they can grow their faith, learn about things, and have an outlet and a connection to God and some help with that Bible study and so on and so forth. So a very unique approach, and you know that where sports meets life on Wake Up Call, I spread my faith without pushing anybody to have a faith or to do anything with it. I spread mine, and I also talk about sports. So what better continuation than to find somebody else who spreads their faith and talks about sports than bringing on Dukes. So Dukes will be joining me today in hour number 2 for Blessings in Baseball, and I look forward to you hearing and watching that after Susan Kim's special airs right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. It is your family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And as you know, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of the LeMoyne College Dolphins. And we have the honor and privilege of speaking with their student athletes administration, future students and student athletes, as well as their alumni and coaches. And I have picture-in-picture with me here today in this very special Dolphin Dive / road to D1 / first time out there in the community doing this interview. We got a lot of firsts here with Susan Kim, as she is the women's volleyball head coach at LeMoyne, just hired to lead the Dolphins. So Susan, welcome to all of the specials we're doing today.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to interview me.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, a Dolphin Dive, we get to know you a little bit better. I released a story about your hiring on wakeupcalldt.com. You can go to the articles tab and check it out to everybody watching and listening. And so I got to see a very deep, rich history when it comes to high school, when it comes to boys volleyball, girls volleyball, then collegiately inside of other Jesuit institutions as well. You've had a long road in volleyball, and I'd love to go to the beginning of when you personally fell in love with the sport.
Well, I actually fell in love with the sport when I moved the summer going into 8th grade. I moved into a new district, probably about 20-30 minutes from where I previously lived. And I was looking for a fall sport to play. I actually remembered some of the older kids playing at church, just in the front for fun. And so I was like, all right, I'll just I'll play volleyball. So I picked it up in 8th grade, and I haven't put the ball down since. I played through high school. I played club in college. I actually didn't know I was good enough to play volleyball in college. So yeah, kind of had to figure out a lot of things on my own. My parents were actually first generation immigrants, so I didn't really know how to navigate through, the sports world or even organized sports just in general. I didn't have as many opportunities as I probably wish I had. So,
And you said your family, first generation immigrants. Where did they come from?
from South Korea.
From South Korea. So
Yes,
have you gone and visited South Korea recently? Have you been back recently?
I have. Actually, the last time I was there was January of 2020, right before COVID hit and we went into the quarantine and everything. I remember when I was leaving, there were reports of their first case in Korea. And I had actually gone to Japan as well. So during that trip, I remember on the way to Korea, on the way to Japan, not wearing a mask, and then on the way back, wearing a mask on the flight. So
Yeah.
yeah, I remember my uncle was like, "You should take some masks with you," and I was like, we're Americans, we don't wear masks. And then all of a sudden, before
Yeah.
you know it, now everyone's scrambling for one. So yeah, it was a crazy time.
So, I mean, being able to go back there and, like you said, in such a unique experience of it, to someone who's never been to South Korea, how would you describe the culture, the environment, the life when you step outside into South Korea? What does it feel like to those who have never seen it and experienced it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a small country, but there's a lot of people within that, small area. So if you notice, there's a lot of like taller buildings. You really have to go out into the countryside to kind of see like the open areas. But a lot of like even the suburbs to the city, like you'll see very tall buildings just because they have to build up to be able to fit everybody. It's like normal for people to like walk into you and not say, excuse me, just because they're used to that lifestyle of like everybody just kind of bumping into each other again, because it's kind of like tight.
Yeah.
They're very, I think like the formality of like respecting your elders and all of that is really important. So there's a lot of like deep like traditions and cultures that they still follow. And I know that they're a little bit slower to be open to some ideas that maybe here in the States, we're a little bit quicker to be more accepting of. But the one thing I do have to say, technology wise, I feel like Korea has always been far more advanced than here in the States. Like we're just now using like Apple Pay and Google Pay and stuff. And I remember they were doing that in Korea probably at least a decade ago, if
Wow.
not longer. So yeah.
That's crazy. And I mean, in like you said, because of the space you have to build up, there's so many people, they're used to banging into each other. How is it going to South Korea, knowing that Korea is split and that the other portion of Korea, North Korea, is very different? And, to people in America, they only know the scary side, the dictatorship, the concern. So when you go back to South Korea, do you feel that at all? What is it like to see it from the other side of the world? Because we only know what the media tells us, and unfortunately, not everybody in the media tells the truth about what places feel like. So when you're in South Korea, is it even on your mind or is it not?
To be honest, for me, not really. When I'm there, I'm just kind of visiting family and stuff like that. I mean, it has come up in conversation. I know that there obviously is always talks about, unification and all of that. But I know it's a little bit scarier for them when there's like threats of bombs and stuff. But I think it's harder to kind of relate to that when I'm so far away. So no, I don't typically have too many conversations about it, nor do I feel it when I'm there.
So you come from, your family comes from South Korea. They're first generation, your parents, immigrants here. You're growing up in America. What traditions stay? Because I'm Italian and Hispanic. I love keeping that alive inside of
Mhm.
me. So how do you keep South Korea alive?
To be honest, I still feel like I really do believe I'm a Korean American. Like to this, to every part of it, because my favorite food is Korean food. I speak Korean at home. My parents, aren't, fluent in English, so I still speak to them in Korean. Our grandparents used to babysit us, so a lot of our, at least me being able to speak Korean comes from that. Um, yeah, just like again, the traditions of like respecting your elders. We still do like on New Year's, we'll do like a tradition where you kind of bow to your elders, and they give you a little bit of money on the side too. So now that tradition has carried on to the next generation, where I don't have any kids of my own, but my sister and my cousins and stuff that all have kids now are now a part of that tradition, where they're like, really excited to get that envelope with that cash on January 1st. So yeah, there definitely are some things that we still do. And I just feel like deep down, some of the values that we have always come from that. So,
and you said it's still your favorite is Korean food. So what's the dish? If you had to pick one, what are you putting on the plate?
oh, that's a tough one, but I'm probably going to have to go with kalbi, which is a marinated short rib. It's my favorite. It's something probably I try to eat like every other day. It's expensive though, so I have to be a little careful. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite dishes because I love eating meat as well. So
did you have Bob put into the contract a little bit of an extra stipend so that you can make sure you get this marinated short rib?
I tried, but I might just have to manage my money to make sure I keep funds for that. So.
Fair enough. Susan Kim
Yeah.
here with me on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of this Dolphin Dive, aka Road to D1, aka the first introduction of Susan here on a broadcast to Central and Upstate New York and to the world at LeMoyne. To keep with your background, you are the first coach ever in LeMoyne history with Asian descent to take over a program and be a head coach. What does that mean to you in this very monumental moment for an institution that you're the face of that move and that opportunity?
I mean, to be honest, I'm very proud. And I'm sure, we kind of hear this a lot, especially nowadays where as people are really trying to push for, female coaches and things like that, even in the male world of sports. But when I look around, like I see a lot of Asian coaches, but especially the female side, I don't know too many Korean female, even head coaches, right? So I think even in seeing that, it just makes me hopefully one day, somebody looks up and goes, oh, she can do it. I can do it. Because I sure did not take the typical path that probably most Korean parents want. I didn't become, the doctor, lawyer. So, this is something that is probably not common, amongst Korean people. So.
Did you ever have any pushback from family that you were going in a totally different route?
Not really. If anything, there's a couple, comments made by my mom just because she wants more like financial stability. But other than that, no, they've always been very supportive. I guess my parents aren't the stereotypical Korean parents, where they've kind of been on my case about certain things, which is why I've kind of had the freedom to pursue, things that I love doing. And I've kind of always had that support, especially from my dad. He's been very like easygoing and just like, if I tell him like, hey, I have an idea, this is what I'm thinking, he's like, okay, go for it. Like there's never any like, no, you can't do that, So no, I've always had support from them for sure.
So, and having that support and now supporting a program of your own, like I said, your trip to where we are now, your journey to where we have evolved to, there's been so many different steps along the way and different things that you've done. There's the connection to the Garden Empire Volleyball Association, the GEVA Regional Team Development Program. You obviously have a connection to, other pieces that we've seen along the way that I had made mention of here in looking at the girls volleyball team at Archbishop Wood High School, as well as the boys volleyball team at Council Rock North High School, and the volleyball academy the Infinity Volleyball Academy, I should say, back in 2008 that you founded and then became co-director managing their daily operations and the growth of the youth-oriented volleyball program, as well as LaSalle University, Georgetown, and Rider most recently here. So there's so many different trips that you've taken, and I broke it down in the article to chronicle your history, but I'd love to hear it from you, how you evolved through this world of volleyball, as well as playing the game yourself.
Yeah. Coaching wasn't something that I planned on doing. It was kind of, after I graduated college, I was actually playing in an outdoor tournament and ran into the old club director that I had played for. And she was like, "Hey, are you interested in coaching high school?" And I was like, "Sure." Like, I didn't really, know what I was doing. I had just graduated. So to me, you say yes to everything, right? You don't really think about, what happens after. So I was an assistant to the JV team back then. And, as I went through the season, there was an opportunity to be a head coach at Archbishop Wood. And, I kind of looked at it and went, I just started coaching. Am I even, ready to take this position on? And without thinking too deeply about it, I applied for the position and was hired. And I kind of really wanted to treat the program as almost kind of mimic the college world. Not that I've been in it myself, but just from the things you've heard and how intense it could get. And I've always had in the back of my mind that I didn't have, the resources that I could potentially give these players and these athletes that, that they might not know, because I didn't know there was club volleyball. I didn't know there was all of this stuff, even playing outdoors. Like, I didn't know that until I was an adult. So it's kind of what was always in the back of my mind, is I wanted to give, the athletes that I was coaching the opportunities and the resources that I didn't have. Yeah. So maybe this is part of my culture and kind of running things and being very structured, or just even my personality. But I was very deliberate in how I wanted things done and how I got them, prepared for games and things like that, and my training methods. And so it just kind of evolved from there. And I started to really fall in love with coaching. And I was working in IT for a little bit and decided it wasn't for me because I really enjoyed doing that. So I was like, oh, why don't I become a teacher? So I went back to school and did a post-bac program and got my teaching cert, all still while coaching. Moved on to coaching boys while I was coaching the girls. And then there was an opportunity to coach college. And I finally decided to take that leap, because I always kind of put, those college coaches on a pedestal a little bit. And again, I kind of questioned, am I ready for something at that level? Yeah. And thankfully, I've always had support. It's interesting because every step along the way, including this one, I've had, a bunch of people like, finally, finally you're a head coach, or finally you're coaching college. I told you should have been doing this. And, I think everything happens for a reason. So yeah, kind of finally find myself in a position where I'm, at the D1 level coaching as a head coach. And so, yeah.
And also at Holy Family amidst all of this, but to have that experience in the D1 world and to look at LaSalle and Georgetown and Rider and whatnot, you were at Rider and then you took a little stint with Georgetown University and then came back to Rider. The Jesuit connection that LeMoyne obviously has, you had that with Georgetown. We'll forgive you in Syracuse because Georgetown's a word we don't say here at Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
But what was that you'll get to know. But what was that experience like to be at Rider and then to have some time at Georgetown and return to Rider? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was different in the sense that, obviously like moving and all of those things, that aside, being in a bigger conference, being funded better than the programs that, I've been a part of, with Rider and Holy Family, we made a little go a long way. Yeah. And not that Georgetown was one of the top, funded programs in the Big East, but compared to what we had, it seemed like a lot of money, right? And so just seeing it at that level and the travel and all of that, I think just kind of gave me some more like steps and goals that I wanted to reach, if that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool to kind of experience that and to be in that environment. And unfortunately, I had some things happen in my personal life that kind of brought me back home and back to Ryder. But it was a place definitely that I would have loved to spend more time in. But the timing just wasn't right. So,
for you, as you went through all these different experiences and at times, became a head coach and would fill in an interim opportunity as well. Did you start to see come to fruition? Because you said that when you take this job at LeMoyne, people say, finally, you're going to oversee this program from the giddy up. Did you see it in yourself as time was going when you said, I never set out to be a coach, but as you apply for this job and get it and then move on to this high school and this university and keep moving up the ranks, did you start to really envision yourself as taking over and leading a program and making it truly your baby?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's always been something that's been on my mind. Starting the club back in 2008, and building that, and I mean, I was 24, 25 when I started the business, and I look back and I'm like, I started my own business, in my mid-20s, without having any idea what I was doing. But I think just my, I guess, personality of like trying to figure things out and asking questions. Again, I think that's part of the advantage that I had, being, a child of immigrants who don't speak English and having to figure out things on my own. I kind of really, use that a lot in my life now, and being able to figure stuff out and kind of being that go-getter and not waiting for other people to do things for me. So, I really use that to my advantage, while starting the club. And luckily, as I coached college, especially with Jeff at Holy Family and at Ryder, he was actually the other person that was a co-director with me for the club. So it kind of was more of a collaborative effort. And I felt like I had, a hand in growing those two programs. So while I didn't have the title of head coach, I know I had a lot of input and, value. And, Jeff really wanted it to be collaborative and really valued my opinion on a lot of things. So, I had a lot of, I guess you can say my thumbprint is definitely on those two programs for sure. Just because the two of us worked so well together, and it wasn't like this like battle of the egos or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, you grow and eventually, I'm like, okay, I'm not growing in terms of certain things at Ryder, not the working with Jeff part, but in other things. So it kind of really pushed me to start looking to grow my own program. So yeah, it's always been on my mind. So now it's finally, coming to fruition here.
Well, and you said it at 24, starting your academy, the Infinity Volleyball Academy back in 2008, and like you said, I'm starting a business in my mid-20s. Well, I could sit here and tell you Dan Tortora Broadcast Media opened in 2000, and let me see here, I was 26 when I started mine, and that was in 2012. That we July 20th, 2012. So, I can definitely respect am I opening a business right now in my mid-20s? But I mean, it's fun and it's exciting. What have you learned from that? From being so young to people on the outside, but saying to yourself, like, hey, I believe I could do this. I want to open this academy. I want to put my fingerprints on this. I believe this is something I have so much passion in. I believe I can make a difference. When you did that at 24, what was going through your head and your heart? Because I love seeing other people succeed. I know some people, like, they want to succeed. They don't want to see anybody else do it. I want to hear from someone else that was early in their 20s going, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm excited. I'm jazzed about it. I don't know exactly how to get it all done, but I'm going to make it happen. Bring me into that part of your life and that feeling that you had inside.
The first thing that comes to mind is I learned I should trust my gut on a lot of things. But I also have an amazing like inner circle of people that I can go to and talk to that will, tell it to me straight. and just having a growth mindset, like just being open to learn. Like I want to learn anything and everything. And I want to outwork people, right? Like, of course I'm going to take my breaks and kind of chill and do that. But
Yeah.
I mean, what else can I do? Right. Especially when you're underfunded or, things like that, when you're kind of growing in that, or when you're in that kind of environment, the best thing you can do is like try to outcoach people or outwork people, or, the grind never changes, right? Like so that's kind of, I think, the biggest thing, like trust my gut, trust the people around me, and just work hard and learn. You can learn from anybody, whether they're older, younger, more experienced, less experienced. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I agree. I mean, you got to be a sponge, and you have to be willing to learn, take constructive criticism, go back to the table. We all know the definition of insanity, right? So
Right.
doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So very honored and moved by all the work that you've done. And, at 24 years old, that you started a business, which is an amazing thing. Susan Kim here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of our Dolphin Dive / Road to D1 / intro, and welcome to the community. So in our Road to D1 series, I'm speaking with the coaches at LeMoyne about leading their programs into Division One. You come into LeMoyne in this transition. What is that like for you to step into a program and see it going from Division Two to Division One, NE10 to the NEC? I mean, we can say that you don't know any different, right? Because you're stepping into a program that's going through this transition. But to be the leader that is carrying the torch for women's volleyball at LeMoyne into Division One competition, which you know all about, and to the NEC, just what that means to you and how you're going to tackle this very unique opportunity at LeMoyne.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the positives for me, or at least the benefits for me, is actually knowing the D2 landscape as well. Just being at Holy Family and actually being in the same region as the NE10. But to be honest, it's kind of like I'm really starting from scratch in every aspect. As the new coach, transitioning to D1, so like almost putting that stuff behind us a little bit, and just really looking to the future. I mean, ultimately you want to be where your feet are and you want to be present in those moments, but definitely like having this vision of like, I have a blank slate in front of me. So I'm just kind of looking at it that way. Like I'm starting new as a brand new head coach, brand new coach, at the Division One level. Hopefully I can kind of help in some areas too. So it's nice to have the D1 experience just in general. But yeah, I think for me, I'm just kind of looking at it like I'm starting fresh, like all throughout every part of it. So in that way, it really feels like I'm making it my own.
Why did you want to take the job?
I wanted to be a head coach, and this was that opportunity. And to be honest, the people that I met throughout the interview process was really big for me as well. I wanted to be a part of, a community and a family that I knew was going to support me throughout, because, you can't do this by yourself. And Bob and Liza and some of the other members of the athletic department have really made it, an easy choice for me.
And I know that you mentioned, in your quotations when you took the job, you mentioned Liza Hilligus and what she did in the process. Why did she stick out to you? What was it about what she did that was so impressive and that moved you at LeMoyne?
Yeah, if that makes sense. Like I've been on interviews before where
we lost you for a second. What did you say? The first thing that you said?
Oh, sorry. No, it just felt very like human, like being amongst people. And, sometimes you go on these interviews and it's too businesslike. It's kind of robotic a little bit. And she just really like humanized it for me. Like even from the tour and telling, me about what the girls have been through and things like that. That's why I do what I do is really, the relationship part. I was like, I was saying even in my interview, and I say this all the time when you have these conversations with other coaches, is, you do this because, you're hoping that later on down the road, you see these young women grow and become like adults and get married and all of that. And you did something right when you're being invited to their weddings, right? So that's kind of really what drew me to LeMoyne is, just her being real with me and not trying to sell something to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a lot of that at LeMoyne. There's a lot of that feeling like, I mean, I have to remind myself that I didn't go to school there because I'm a Dolphin. And according to Dr. Linda Lemira, I'm a Dolphin. And to Bob, I'm a Dolphin. So, to go to Bob as well, I know that he's had a lot of thoughts about this hiring and, and seeing this women's volleyball team go through having a coaching change and then having a coach come in and then having another coaching change. They've seen so much in such a short amount of time. What can you say you took away from Bob Beretta? I mean, he leads this athletic department. So what type of impression did he leave on you?
I mean, I feel like he kind of thinks along the same lines as I do. And him having that building mentality and trying to grow the athletic department. Again, he was just very like, we're going to do this together. It wasn't like, hey, you're hired and good luck.
Yeah.
Every step of the way, it's been, I'm here if you need anything. I'm here if you need anything. And that is reassuring because I have a lot of questions about a lot of things because I'm still trying to get acclimated with everything. And, he's just been super helpful. So to have an AD that you can go to and talk to directly without having to jump through hoops or, anything like that has been super helpful. And again, that's a no brainer. Like having an AD that has a coach's back, it goes a long way.
Yeah. And the president, I mentioned her, Dr. Linda Lemira. What can you say about, so there's been over 4,000 people that have been on Wake Up Call. And I don't say that as a yay ego. I say that as a setup for what I'm about to say. Thousands of people have been on the show. I can't parallel any of them to Dr. Linda Lemira. I can't. I can't compare them to her hugs. I can't compare them to her smile. I can't compare them to how vibrant she is and how honest she is and how when she says something to you, I mean, I'll read a text message I did this past week and I'll look at my dad or my mom and I'll say, this is what was said to me. And they'll be like, wow, that's a really nice compliment. I'm like, yeah, but it came from Linda. So it's even more. It holds more weight to me. When she says something to you, it makes you stop and go, if I made her feel that way or she believes that, like she's up here. And I feel the same way about Bob. And I feel the same way about a lot of people at LeMoyne. So how would you describe Linda and just what it means to have a president that is not in a tower locked away somewhere, but is right there, comes to the games, wants to see how you're doing, goes and speaks to student athletes, celebrates them. She's Linda. I think that's the only way I could describe her is you can't compare her to anybody.
So very true. I've had the pleasure of meeting her. And it was during my on-campus interview and my first meeting was with her. And I walk in and she like compliments me right away. I'm like, okay, this is all right. Way to butter me up as I walk in, and yeah, exactly to what you said. She's very, has a lot of energy, positive energy. She's just seems so excited about stuff. And when your leadership is like that, you can't help but, want to follow along. I do have to say, this is probably breaking the news here, but I had her doing squats in her office at one point. So, just again, seeing like the person side to everybody and not just like, hey, this is my title, this is where I'm at. Just really gives you that family feel. You don't a lot of times, you don't get to see, the president's, face or see their, them walking around on campus and stuff. But for sure, I feel like she's somebody that once you get talking to her, I feel like it'll, you're there for a while kind of thing. I remember they had to come in a couple of times, be like, all right, you have other meetings too. But we had such a great time just talking about, the future of, LeMoyne and things like that. And just even the everyday stuff. It's just kind of really, I thought it was a cool experience to be able to do that. And I'm sure it's not the last time that I would be talking to her. So,
That one, I mean, you said it. She has this busy schedule, but when she's with you, she's present, and they're normally telling her that she has to end the meeting to go to another meeting instead of her pushing you out the door.
Exactly. Yeah.
She's definitely. How did you get her to do squats? Not that I'm surprised at all, but how did I need to know how it came about? Set us up.
Yeah, no, we were just talking about training and how, some people just can't naturally squat, just, and just talking about ways to stretch and, get your hip flexors and, being able to be more flexible, like at the ankles and stuff like that. Cause she had told me that she tore her ACL. So she was like, wait, let me get this straight. So she gets up and starts showing me. She does have some work to do though. So I'm going to be checking in on her and making sure she's practicing and getting some stretches in.
Okay, so we already know we got the breaking news, and then we already know that you are, her trainer in a way. And you're going to be.
Oh shoot, I don't know about that, but yeah.
Linda, you better be ready next time. I guess that's what it is. So she's going to make me come in and do them. I know that. So.
Oh yeah.
But as you look to D1, we're fast approaching here, right? The season's less than 2 months away. So. Yep. How are you doing putting the schedule together? How are you doing making sure that you have your NEC games that you have to have and then non-conference? What can you tell us about the schedule right now?
Yeah, I'm actually in the middle of doing all of that. Right before this, I was trying to figure out flight information on certain things. It's been a challenge in the sense that, everyone's kind of finished their schedules for the most part. So I sent out I blasted out an email to, all the email addresses that I had. And luckily I was able to get some options. There's still some opportunities to play. So I'm hoping to be able to schedule some stuff. Unfortunately, it's not finished yet. The NEC schedule is, obviously done. They had it done for us. So right now I'm actually finishing up the preseason tournaments, and then I'm going to look at some non-conference matches as well. We probably won't have a full schedule, but we'll definitely, have a pretty good one in terms of some different competition and being able to travel a little bit. Something that I think this team really didn't get the opportunity to. I don't know if they even flew anywhere recently. So that's kind of, I think the fun part of the schedule is being able to travel and see some different things. But some of our competition is going to be super tough. And I hope that, we can take some, good lessons from it. I hope it doesn't, bum them out. I know it's going to be tough, but we have to start somewhere. And I think it'll be good growing pains for us.
Can you give us any inkling if we're going to see some other New York D1 non-conference teams? If we're going down to Florida, can you give us any hints on what could happen?
Yeah, I'm trying to get a trip down to Florida. It'll be a lot tougher competition. I haven't confirmed with them yet, so okay. I'll hold back where we're going right now. But yeah, there's a flight. There actually might be a couple flights for preseason tournaments right now, and then there are some New York teams that have some openings, but a lot in the Northeast for sure. Because right now we're kind of in this situation where. Again, just budget wise, I think a lot of schools are kind of already stuck with what they got. So I have to figure out, who's traveling where. So yeah, just trying to fit some stuff in, but mostly schools that are, there's some New York, some New Hampshire, Connecticut, and maybe even down to Maryland or so. So.
Okay. Well, before we jump into our final piece, where we get to play rapid fire, and you get to play for the first time ever.
Oh, geez.
You get to put me on the hot seat, and then I get to do the same thing. Final note before we go there: how would you describe the student athletes, and what are you doing with this team as far as the makeup? Are you looking in the transfer portal at all? Have you locked everything in? Bring me into the makeup of this team and the reception of you, because that you're their third coach in a very short amount of time before this season starts.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, I've had the pleasure of meeting everybody on a Zoom call just the other night, actually. And in addition to that, I've been kind of connecting with each of the athletes individually to get to know them. I mean, so far they seem like really good people. They've been super helpful. Even if I didn't ask them for something, like they're offering their help for stuff. I've had a lot of help from the senior leadership as well. So they've been very good about just trying to help me in whatever way they can. I think they're kind of used to making some of the decisions on their own because they've been without a coach for a while now.
Yeah.
But I want to take some of that, burden off of them, obviously, because they shouldn't have to worry about some of the things that they're worrying about. So I think they like me so far. We'll see when we get into the gym. But we've had, a meeting about, some of the expectations and what's to come and just some logistical stuff of when they would be back on campus and things like that. So still trying to finalize some of those things. But yeah, I mean, it's been great. They've been super helpful, good at communicating. So I hope that, it continues as we move on to the season as well.
I know that you were recruiting during the 4th of July. So,
yes.
So is there late addition or are we looking toward the future?
There are a couple pieces that I'm potentially looking at for potential add-ons for this fall. But I'm kind of in the mindset that I don't want to just bring in someone to bring in someone. I want to have the time to vet them as people as well. So, the last trip to Chicago was really mostly for next fall. But there were a few, 23s that I was looking at. So I am looking at some kids in the transfer portal, some international players as well. And then there are like one or two that are still trying to figure out where they want to go for the fall. So, yeah, anything can happen in the next few weeks.
I like that. And Bob and I were talking about it. I said, well, that definitely says something about Susan when she wanted everything to be in, set, and ready. Not so that you could just have your contract and be done with it, but because you wanted to go recruit. So It was like, yeah, can we get it all done so I can go recruit during the holiday? So with that being said, we're going to jump into rapid fire. This edition of Dolphin Dive and the Road to D1 series in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with LeMoyne College on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, here with Susan Kim, the head coach of the women's volleyball program. We're going to do 3 and 3. So you get to ask me a question, I'll ask you back, and we'll go back and forth. It could be sports. It could be anything, music, movies, pastime, childhood. You could go anywhere. There is nothing that we have pre-planned. So when you're ready, Susan, you get to ask the first question.
What is your favorite food?
Oh, that's so tough. That's so ridiculously tough. There's so many people in my family that cook so well, and I love to cook. I'm going to pick something that I make, and I'm going to keep it simple. I like to know what's in my food.
Okay.
And I like to be clean with like what's in my food. So because I love to cook and it's hard for me to find this stuff and I love vegetables and I love, usually chicken with it and making homemade. I like making my nachos. I like making homemade nachos. I like to do the pulled chicken when I take the time with that. So I definitely say that. And I'm big on making my grandmother's sweet potatoes. I love making my grandma's sweet potatoes. They're simple, but there's some very tedious things you have to do in the kitchen to make sure you make them right. And before she passed at almost 101 years old, she gave me the thumbs. So as long as she liked it, I don't deviate from how I make them. So very simple.
Well, I'll definitely have to try some sometime. So maybe you can bring some by one day.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring some sweet potatoes. As long as I could get some marinated short rib and it all that. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen. But no, the sweet potatoes and the nachos, nachos are overpriced and not that great. So I make them at home. I save a bunch of money and I put something on every chip. So you're not feeling gypped by anybody.
Yep. Makes sense.
Let me think here. All right, Susan, let's stick with food. What's the one food that you've tried that you never, ever want to eat again?
Oh, geez. One food I've tried. That's a hard one. Literally nothing comes to mind.
Okay. Do you have?
And
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I mean, as you get to know me, I love food. So
Okay.
trying to think of something that I've tried that I don't like. I really can't think of anything. I know that's a boring answer, but
So I'll ask this instead of it. What, besides what you've already told me,
mhm.
what's the one thing that you think you cook that's like the best work that you do?
Oh, I actually learned this recipe from my sister, but it's a um Parmesan herb crusted chicken. I
Okay.
probably put way too much mayo, and I actually started adding my own like minced garlic to it. So very garlicky and a lot of mayo. Probably very unhealthy, but it tastes really good.
No, Parmesan crusted chicken. That's definitely, that sounds like leaning toward the Italian world. So I like that. That's good.
Yeah, I have to learn how to make more Korean food, though. I do have to say, I've been fortunate that my mom's kind of cooked a lot of stuff for me, so now it's my turn to figure that stuff out.
Will she give you the recipes?
To be honest, I think she kind of uses a pre-made sauce, marinade, so I don't know if there's much behind it.
Okay.
But I just have to learn to do it myself.
Yeah, fair enough. What's your second one for me?
Um, what is your favorite sport to watch?
I've come to like different things about different sports. I will say that I'll probably say basketball because I played it my whole life and I broadcasted it. It's where my career started in 2003 when I was broadcasting men's and women's basketball games. But I will say that they asked me doing MU Courtside, which is the first show I created at my alma mater, Marywood University. They said, "Will you do a volleyball game?" And I said, "Yeah." And I mean, I'd say yes, like you said, you growing up, you want to get
Mhm.
experience, you say yes to everything. Like I would say pickleball, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, let's do it. And I wanted a challenge. Well, I had to learn the terminology, the stats, that it's not just, oh, you get a point for this and a point. There was so many things that
Yep.
went into it. And I still remember going back to that day, sitting in the gym and having to learn and being excited to have to grow in a sport that I didn't know the terminology of.
Mhm.
So now that I've said that, I'm going to be expected to know the terminology if I come to a practice, but I'm going to be brushing up on some of my work. But yeah, I definitely have an appreciation for volleyball after having to crash course teach myself
Mhm.
how to broadcast volleyball games.
Yeah.
So I'd say that.
Sorry, we'll help you out. You can come on by and we'll help you with the terminology because there's some things that some commentators will say that kind of make you cringe a little bit. So we'll help you what words not to use
See,
when describing certain things.
I'm the person where it's like, tell me so I can learn. I'm not one of those like, this is what I say, and then you're cringing at it as a former player and as a coach. I'm like, no, tell me what it is. Tell me the
Yeah.
terminology. Help me to know. Because the last thing you want to do is piss somebody off that loves the game that's listening.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I do that with basketball all the time. I can't tell you how many times I listen to a game on the radio and they don't give the score for 10 minutes. I was like, the game's over. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing here? Or they give the
Yeah.
score and they don't tell you who's leading.
Yeah.
They just tell
Yeah.
you. So I'll sit there with my dad. I did it this year with the NCAA tournament. We're sitting in the car driving back from Albany, and I go, "What's the score? What's the score? What's the score? 7 minutes. What's the score?"
Oh,
So
geez.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's unbearable sometimes. So I never want to be on that side. So I accept that you can teach me some things that I need to
Yeah.
know.
We'll definitely help you out.
All right, fair enough. Let's go to music. If you could only see one concert on repeat for the rest of your life, who would you go to see if that's the only group or person you could see?
Hmm. This might not be a popular one, but just because it's most recent, I'm actually not a big concert goer, but I'm I'm gonna say Maroon 5.
Okay. I've
I
seen them
wish I was
twice.
more knowledgeable in music, but yeah.
Well, they made a great song called Middle Ground that I think we could all learn from right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen Maroon 5 a couple times. I'm a Maroon 5 fan. So that's a
yeah.
good answer.
Okay, good. All right, good.
All right. What's your last one for me?
Um, where where would you like to travel to if you haven't traveled there already, or you've been to already that you would love to go back to?
All right, I'll pick one of each. I definitely want to go to Italy and Spain. I want to see my family. And I cover the Jacksonville Jaguars, so I'd like to go to the UK and cover their games because I can. I haven't done it yet, so I believe that there's a road to do that. So I would like to do that. I'd probably make a trip of doing all of that at once. And
Okay.
then somewhere I've been I'd like to go back to either Puerto Rico or I'll go back to New Orleans because I did Katrina relief there
Okay.
and I didn't want to leave. I
Oh
left
wow.
and I started working at Disney. Like I
Okay.
literally did Katrina relief May of 2006, went home for a day, and then moved to Orlando for like 2 or 3 months to do Disney work.
Oh wow.
So I want to go back to see the people of New Orleans. They touched my heart. A lot of faith, God, family,
Hmm.
community, passion, food. So I would definitely go back to New Orleans because I really didn't get to see New Orleans because I didn't allow myself. There was people like going out and doing stuff, and I felt like we were there to do a job. We were there to do God's work, and I felt wrong, like going out and partying on Bourbon Street when I'm there
Right.
to try and repair somebody's life.
Right.
I would definitely go back and want to experience more of New Orleans.
That's cool.
All right, my last one. All right, Susan, do you watch movies or no?
I do.
Okay. So we're going to put you in a movie world. You get to
Okay.
pick any movie world that you could jump into.
Okay.
What world do you live in and what character do you play?
I would say one of the Marvel like movies. I would do that.
I'm done. Drop the
And
mic. You know what, Susan? I liked you before. Now you're in the don't tell anybody at LeMoyne. You're in the top 3 right now.
oh,
You're
okay,
racing
good.
the
Good,
charts.
good.
So Marvel, okay.
I would say it'd have to be Black Widow, like either Scarlett Johansson or I'm not gonna lie. I'm totally drawing a blank now, but Hawkeye. I think that'd be cool too to be able to yeah.
So you would live in the Marvel universe. What movie would you want to go to?
Ooh. Um Man, it's been a while since I've seen one. I would say one of the last ones, like Endgame or something like that. So it's just like everyone was in it, right? So it was kind of cool. A little bit of everything. So yeah.
So Black Widow or Hawkeye in Endgame. All of my
Mhm.
LeMoyne coaches take notes because I didn't have to give any of the information to Susan on that. So with that being said, and I don't know if you saw my watch here, but
Mhm.
it's Thanos'
Oh
snap with
yeah.
the
Yeah,
six
I see it.
Infinity Stones on it. So
Oh wow.
yep, I got the 6 stones here. So
Okay.
I haven't snapped my fingers lately, but I got to think of something good before I do that. So
Okay.
we'll figure it out. But yeah, so great answer. We end with Marvel. Perfect way to do it. So with that
Okay.
being said, Susan Kim, women's volleyball, LeMoyne College, leading the Dolphins into Division One and into the NEC. It has been my absolute pleasure to have you here today, Susan. And we've only just begun our conversation, so can't wait to have you back. But thank you so much for sharing your culture, your history, your family, and your time with us today. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Hi, This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond. You can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports truly meets that thing called life. And I'm always honored and privileged to bring you the segment that I'm about to bring you right now. We do it bi-monthly, which means twice a month for those of you out there, and the opportunity of having good friends and to talk about faith, to talk about the things that are important to us, and to spread positivity, to hopefully help you to smile a little bit today and when you watch this show back and listen back on a rainy day or whatever it may be. So I'm always thankful to have Dukes Knutson here with me. Blessings in Baseball is what we call it. Every other Wednesday on Wake Up Call exclusively from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we talk on the Tampa Bay Rays, Major League Baseball. And of course, we speak on our faith and interwoven into our life, that faith and how it's a part of everything we do. So with that being said, Dukes, how we doing?
Welcome to the second half of the season, Daniel. How are you?
I know, I'm excited. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well. And I mean, this is here we go, right? It's half number 2. I can't believe how fast it comes. And I think I said this to you in a previous conversation we had on Blessings in Baseball, how the season starts and then we're halfway through the season. I mean, you know what I mean? Does it ever, slow down for you at all? Or does it just feel like it's opening day and then we're in the second half of the season?
Daniel, that is the story of life. It goes by in a twinkling of an eye. And that's why it's so important to make each and every day count.
Yeah, no, it's, having the opportunity to make your day count, to make your moment count, to make the opportunities that are set before you count. I think that that's incredibly important. And I'd love to start there, about life how we spend the time that we have and what we do with that time that we have, because I'll do it tomorrow, I'll, be more positive tomorrow, I'll get rid of my bad habits tomorrow, I'll call that person tomorrow, I'll apply for that job tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes, and people say, well, what do you mean, Dan? I said I was going to do something 10 years ago, and tomorrow came every day. And it's like, that's not what I mean. What I mean by that is, did you apply for that job? Did you take that chance, take that opportunity, take the plunge, calculated risk, and whatnot? Because so often we always think about the next moment and not the current moment. How have you taught yourself, Dukes, to live in the moment?
Well, I was a high school teacher and a coach for 34 years up in Minnesota. And one of my pet peeves, I was a high school teacher and a coach for 34 years. I'm getting feedback.
Yeah, no, you're okay. We got you now.
Okay. My pet peeve was always, and not just in my teaching and coaching career, but just in life in general, again, is when people use the phrase, I didn't have time. No, Dan, every one of us gets 24 precious hours in a day. So we know from the very beginning that that's what we get.
Yeah.
And so it's not that we didn't have time. It's how we choose to use our time. I think one of the most prevalent instances that I come across in my ministry is I didn't have time to read the Bible today. I was too busy. Well, again, it's not that you didn't have enough time. It's how much priority do you put on your daily Bible reading. I always tell my baseball players, you can tell me virtually where you're going to be at every hour of the day based on your baseball schedule. But do you have it written into your daily schedule when you're going to read your Bible? I can tell you right now, from 6:30 a.m. until 8 a.m. every weekday morning is my quiet time. I'm in the Bible. I'm doing my prayers, and that time is scheduled. Now, are there days, of course, when I have to adjust my schedule? Well, certainly.
Yeah.
But it's a priority with me, and so I'm going to make the time rather than say I didn't have time to do things, and that's what I think is, for me, has worked is laying out your priorities each day and make sure you live by those priorities.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, what I've learned in life, and it's a tough thing to learn, but it's also freeing once you know it, because it's hard to accept in the moment, but once you can accept it, you can move forward, and that is that people take time to do the things that they want to do. If somebody's not taking the time, and it's a really hard thing to take in, right? Because you think, well, why didn't this friend said they wanted to hang out, why didn't they call me? Well, this person said they wanted to go on a date, why didn't they answer the call? Well, this person said they were going to hire me, why didn't I hear back from them? People do what they want to do. And I think it's one of the hardest things in life to accept. And it's one of the hardest things in life to find a way to be okay with, is that not everybody values your time. Not everybody values you. And I've been on a long journey, Dukes, in realizing in life that I have focused so much on what the people of this world think of me and what they want and what matters to them, and if I, am approved by them, instead of realizing that you're already loved by God, you've already been approved by God, you've already been made by God in his image and likeness. So we as in society, probably now more than ever, because everything's instantaneous and we can comment about everything, we want people to like us. We want people to date us. We want people to hire us. We want people to, say that we did a great job. And when you live and die by the sword of what people say, even when it's good, you still get stabbed a little. And I, for every person that says, yeah, let's go on a date, there's a bunch of people that say no. For every friend that came through, there's some friends that didn't. For every job that worked out, there's a ton of applications that you never got an answer to. And I caution people, as I've cautioned myself and learned over the years, that we seek, hopefully this will come through when I say it this way to people out there, we seek God through humanity, and that is where I think we get lost, is we're asking human beings to almost give us the approval that can only come from one higher power.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, there's one part of your statement that I think I have a little different take on when you say that people do what they want to do. I think for the most part that's true. But I'm reminded of a scripture that I came across just this morning in my daily devotionals. And it comes from Romans chapter 7. And Paul says, I do not understand what I do. For what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate to do, I do. And I think that fits into this equation too. I think there's a lot of people, for example, who genuinely want to read scripture more. They know they need to,
yeah,
and they want to, but then they start putting higher priority on my job, my family, so many other things that are grabbing for our time. And again, if scripture reading is a high priority, you will make time for it. If you're allowing all these other things to influence your time, for me, that's saying that it's really not as high a priority as you're saying it is. So I think we have to be careful and examine exactly what our priorities are.
Yeah, here with Dukes, Knudsen, and Blessings in Baseball every other Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Truly where sports meets life, linking a sport that we both love and appreciate to our faith as well. And, you were just touching on it, priorities. And yes, and like you said, in the Bible, there are people that say, I'm not doing what I want to do. I'm doing what I don't want to do. And I would liken that to Paul saying, I don't want to do yard work, but I have to do the yard work. I don't want to get rid of the weeds. I don't want to mow the lawn. I don't want to have, I got to take a shower. I'm exhausted. I got to do this. I got to give the dog a bath. But there's things that, we have to do in life. And I think we've become, I don't know if we've become, we might have always been, but we are a society that has so much at our disposal. What did they say? That America is a small piece, as far as, geographically, we're a small piece of the world, but we use at least a third of the world's resources. We have so many things at our disposal. We can go so many different places, do so many things, eat so many different types of food. There's so much that we have sitting in a pile that we can get caught up in, what do I want to do? What do I like? And not really what I have to do, because there's so many things to distract you and take you away from it. And I think finding a way to break away from the distraction, and there's people that watch and listen that are watching and listening right now saying, why are you talking about faith? And there's people saying, talk about stats. And there's people saying, I have no faith. And I always tell people I welcome everybody to the show. I've never turned anyone away from the show. And as I respect you, please respect me and respect Dukes. And, I think, Dukes, we are at a time in our history where there is so many things to take your focus off of God and to tell you don't have to, because everything's easy. It's on your phone. It's instantaneous. How do we break away from technology, from the heaping pile of resources that we have in America. How do we break away and take a walk, look at a bird in a tree, go and play basketball and, put some buds in our ears and just, get out there and get out our frustration and I feel like getting us away from all of the noise is a hard thing to do right now. And I think it affects people's mental health. And, we wonder why people commit suicide and how it seems like sometimes it's happening at a more rapid pace and there's more people that are taking their lives. I think that we're living in a world where it's hard to escape from the noise. And I think that when that gets in people's heads and takes over, it gets difficult. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, again, coming from a Christian perspective, I think everything you've just said affirms what I believe, that Satan is alive and well. And I really believe that in his arsenal, busyness has become one of his greatest weapons today to, like you said, to distract us from our priorities and what should be our priorities. We become so busy. It has not been as big an issue with me. I'm a retired bachelor. I have more control, let's say, over my priorities and my time than a lot of people. I understand. Last Saturday night, I spent the night at the home of one of our relief pitchers, Jason Adams. He's got 3 beautiful daughters, a 4th one that's due any day. And, here's this major league pitcher, all the pressures that go along with playing Major League Baseball, the travel schedule, all that. He comes home to his darling children and wife, and it's busy, it's chaotic.
Yeah.
And I don't have to deal with all that on a daily basis. So, again, it's a matter of your priorities. The whole social media thing today, again, this is scriptural. Social media can be used for good or it can be used for evil. I personally believe I've seen too much evil. So I've stayed away from social media. I hardly know what any of these things are. The Twitter and the Spotify and whatever they are. I hear these terms, but I don't touch them. And my life is just fine without them. But I know that's a real draw today. And I watch some people at a Rays game watching a game and they're on their computer and they're following 5 different people during the game. How do you do that? Can you concentrate? Why do you do that? Watch the game. Enjoy the game. So again, we make choices, Dan, and all of us have to be responsible for our own choices. And I think we all have to be on guard to succumbing to Satan's busyness weapon.
Yeah. No, and I agree because busyness, like you said, it kind of takes you away from everything, and you have to be able, like, I do what I love. I love what I do. You do as well, and
right.
It becomes a part of you. My business, for goodness sakes, is Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. My name is on the door. So when I'm living that every day, to step away, I've found the importance of when I go to dinner to put my phone away, sit with my dad, sit with my mom. And, it was funny. I went on a date last year and it was a double date. And this girl looked at me and she said, "I have to applaud you." And I was like, and I, even saying it today, something inside of me was like, "What?" And she was like, "We all should applaud you." She said, "Look at the table. We all have our phones out. We've all been on our phones. I'm frantically checking my phone, hitting it every couple minutes to see if I have a message. I haven't even seen your phone. And I said, okay. And she was like, aren't you worried? Like, don't you think? I mean, you run a business. Why? I said, my phone's in my pocket. I said, I can sit here and I can have dinner with my phone in my pocket because whatever's pressing can wait. And they're like, well, what if something goes off? What if this? I said, my phone's gone off about 13 times in my pocket. I keep feeling it vibrate, but there's nothing inside of me that wants to pick this out. And she's like, well, we all just need to applaud you because you did that. And you're making us all look bad. I said, no, I was raised to pay attention to the people in front of me. I was raised that if you're going to have quality time and you take the quality out of it, then it's just time. And I think I know that I'm a very simple person. And if I go out on a date now and it's the first date and the girl's on her phone while I'm talking and she's looking down and she's not paying attention, I'm probably going to excuse myself. And I mean, kudos to that woman recognizing that I didn't have my phone out. But Dukes, what society are we living in when 1 out of 4 people at a table doesn't have their phone out and they think that I should be applauded like I just, I don't know, went to Africa and cured malaria over here.
Yeah, to me anyway, it's another sad commentary on our society. And I've been there too. I've been at a restaurant and I've seen a family all sitting at the same table, all looking at their phones. And what a sad commentary that is. But again, what a simple solution, Dan.
Yeah.
Put your phone away.
Yeah.
I don't even bring my phone in to the restaurant if I'm with somebody. It doesn't have to be there. Whoever is calling, texting, whatever, it can wait. Now again, I go back to that's actually in James. It talks a lot about how things can be used for good or for evil. When I go to work, my phone is invaluable. I'm getting text messages from people who I need to work with who are all over the stadium.
Yeah.
And texting has proven to be an efficient way of communicating during my work.
Yeah.
But again, if I'm, as you said, Daniel, if I'm with somebody, I'm intentional about not even having my phone with me. It's not that important. But again, I believe Satan has ingrained it into us that now we got to have our phone with us all the time.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is, and you made mention of it here on Blessings of Baseball and Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, with Dukes Knutson and myself, you spoke about it, the family at the table. When I see people out and I see them both at a table, not looking at each other, not talking and texting, what I picture in my head is they're texting somebody else that they're not hanging out with. Then they leave that restaurant and then they text the person they were just sitting in front of when they're hanging out with that other person. So they're never having any type of valuable quality time. They're not having any quality time. And the thing is, if you're going to go out in public to text on your phone and not pay attention to what's going on around you, just stay at home on your couch. Well, why even take up a spot in a restaurant if you're not going to be there? And there's a movie that I enjoy called The Internship. And it's with, The Intern's good too with Robert De Niro, but The Internship with Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn. And they walk in and they're trying to get their team, because they're trying to get jobs at Google, and they're trying to get their team to get out of just the technological side and to experience the world. And and the scene is not the best when it comes to sin and not sin. It was more of the message of when Vince Vaughn goes over to this kid and he says, your life is like right in front of you if you'll just look up. And I'm just taking that part where he picks his chin up and says, like, just look forward. Look at what's there. I can't help myself. And yes, I'm a Christian. And yes, I believe in God. I'm going to say this. You're probably going to laugh when I say it. When I see somebody texting in public and there's a pole, there's a part of me that's like, at least just tap it a little so that you'll stop. I kind of want that moment of, because you see people do that. They almost walk into a manhole, or, they don't know anywhere that they're going because they're just whatever's on this tiny little screen. And the funniest thing about it is, what did we do before? Because I didn't get a phone until I was 16. And the phone I got when I was 16 was huge. It barely fit in my pocket. It had an antenna. There was no texting at the time, and there was nothing on the screen except for black numbers on a green screen. So even when I had a phone in the beginning, it didn't do any of this stuff. And, I asked people, what did we do beforehand? How do we enjoy ourselves? So Dukes, and hopefully you could come up and visit sometime. In my home, the first room you walk into, you come into my household, there is a room sitting right there with 2 couches and a chair all facing each other and a table in the center. That room is called the conversation room. There is no television. There are no electronics except for a vinyl record player. You have to talk to each other when you enter my home. And I did that very purposefully to tell people the first impression I want you to have when you come in my house is that I actually want to know how you're doing.
Well, again, you hit it right on the nail on the head. You have to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
You did that purposefully, and we can avoid a lot of these issues, I believe, by being intentional. But the problem is we succumb. We succumb to these draws that Satan puts into our lives to distract us, and we become so distracted. You talked earlier about, we Americans, we face first world problems, but we treat them as if they're third world problems.
Yeah.
And we got to get rid of that mindset as well, I believe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, my phone isn't working. My internet's down. Okay, well, some people don't have a house. Some people don't have a place to sleep tonight. So,
that's right.
I think that's in America too. So there's a lot to be said about that. And there's a lot to appreciate, like you said, first world problems, to appreciate our blessings. Well, the Rays had a big time blessing, and so did my prediction bracket when Randy Arozarena made it to the championship of the Home Run Derby. And so I would love to talk about a Ray this morning, Mr. Arozarena, because I had him make it all the way on the left side of my bracket. He made it to the championship. Now, I didn't have Vlad. I had Pete Alonso, who had a rough go. But I am very excited to see that. And I actually texted Dukes during the Home Run Derby, and I put go Arozarena, and very excited about it. I thought it was great. I also thought it was really cool that he went to home plate and he stood with like a pose, and he had his daughter there with him. So I'd love to get your thoughts on what it was like to see Randy on the big stage and to see him almost become the Home Run Derby champion.
Well, as you know, and I'm sure a lot of people know, Randy has become kind of the face of the franchise right now with Kiermaier gone, and he's reaching that icon status already. They've started at the Trop every Friday night home game. They sell a special ticket out in left field, and they've designated those 2 sections as Randyland. And people who buy tickets out there, they get a special T-shirt to wear. If Randy hits a home run, I think they get a free beverage or something like that. But it's he's really become a real popular player in a very short period of time, really. Again, I think the fact that Kiermaier has gone, because he kind of had that position for many years. he's an interesting character, for sure.
Yeah.
He's basically known now for he wants to be in the limelight. If he sees a chance to have the lights shine on him, then that's when he thrives. And so far, it's been true. So I wasn't surprised to see him do well at all. To be honest, you look at that lineup of those 8 players, and honestly, I could have seen any one of them win that Derby. I guess it's who I give a lot of credit to, Dan, is their pitchers.
Yeah.
They don't get hardly any recognition, but that is such a key to this contest. And Tomas Francisco did a great job for Randy.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Again, I'm not surprised in the least. He'll probably be back, do it again in the future.
Yeah, I mean, but you said it, the pitcher, right? The person that's helping them, the timing, the spot, because there was some guys out there, and I'm not gonna, we don't witch hunt here on the show. When you watch back the Home Run Derby, I mean, you probably go back, watch any year, but you go back and watch this year, there were certain guys that came up to bat where their pitcher just wasn't in tune with them, or putting the ball in not the greatest spot, not the greatest place, and they couldn't get into a rhythm, and I think so. Certain guys that we saw, it was just money, right? We saw what Julio could do. I mean, he in the first round, he just got into a rhythm, put the ball there, swing, and it was just like it was like nothing, right? It was like the word "the." It was like brushing your teeth in the morning. He was just doing it, and it was fine. But then there were other moments where some of the other gentlemen that came up to bat, it seemed like the ball wasn't being placed in the right spot. So, we're sitting here watching the hitter, but you also have to watch the pitcher, because this is not a machine just shooting it out the same to every player. So, in all honesty, if you have a better relationship, if you're putting if you have a better relationship with a person, they know where you need to put it. They're not being affected by the limelight, right? They're not getting nervous and jittery, so they're putting the ball where they need to put it, because this is a massive stage to be on. You have to have the right pitcher, and this is where, even before they start swinging, there's going to be some discrepancy in who has a better chance, because some have a leg up. I think they were talking about Pete Alonso had somebody set up and then had to change last minute, and we saw that the timing was off between Pete Alonso and his pitcher, and I think Pete would have done better, so I think that's a part of the Home Run Derby we really don't key in on enough, and I'm happy that you mentioned it, is that not every person coming up to bat is created equal, in the sense of they're not all getting the same delivery and the same timing and the same placement of the ball, which I think is important.
Well, just to illustrate your point, I mean, Alonso he's definitely proven himself in the past.
Yeah.
And so, he very well may have been thrown off at the last minute. But, one of my favorite moments of the whole evening was the Rutschmans, for Adley to have his father pitching to him. And, think of all the times that he has pitched to him over the years. And what a special moment for the family. And then for Adley to turn around and bat from both sides of the plate. I thought that was very special as well. So some really, really fun moments.
And I got to make mention of this, Dukes, that, we look at, there's some history that was made. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. joins Pete Alonso and Albert Pujols as the only players in Major League Baseball history to have at least 100 home runs cumulatively in their Home Run Derby experiences. So that's one. Two, a father and son have never, ever won the Home Run Derby until Vladimir Guerrero Jr. did it this time around where Senior has already done it. And there's some really interesting history in that, because when his father did it by beating a Toronto Blue Jay, and now his son did it as a Toronto Blue Jay, which I thought was really cool. And they both did it on the West Coast. We saw Vlad do it in California, and we saw Vlad Sr. do it in California, and Vlad Jr. do it in the state of Washington. So, sports always seems to have these incredible stories that tell themselves. What are your thoughts on that? That father and son, for the first time ever in Major League Baseball history, and they both did it on the West Coast, and Senior did it against a J, where his son did it as a J.
Yeah, and you're always going to have that, especially, one of the things that really surprised me, Dan, was I don't remember. Do you know offhand when was the first home run derby?
Oh my goodness, I couldn't. I don't want to guess it and be wrong, so I'm going to tell everybody.
Yeah. Well, my point is this: that it really
1985.
85.
The year I was born, and I should know that because I think I mentioned that recently. But yeah, the year I was born, the home run derby.
So we're talking 38 years, and to me, home run derby seems like it's still a new part of the game, the All-Star festivities.
Yeah,
it seems like it was started about 10 years ago. But as time goes on, you're always going to have these kinds of stories. The first father-son. I suppose the Griffeys had the opportunity at some point. I'm not sure, but I happened to work at the 2014 All-Star Game, which was in Minnesota, and that's when the home run derby really. I became more interested in it, actually witnessing it.
Yeah.
And so I do take much more interest in it now than I did pre-2014. Major League Baseball, I think, has done a great job of building up the All-Star Game. In my mind, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who disagree, but in my mind, it's the only All-Star Game worth watching. Football, basketball, and hockey, to me, it's not even close to the same game. Whereas at baseball, it's still competitive. It's the same strategies involved. They're still trying. Yeah. They're putting out, and so I think Major League Baseball has done a great job with promoting the All-Star Week.
Yeah, you made mention of it, and we're getting it in the feed here too. Is that this definitely is an all-star game that people pay attention to. And they said something about like, oh, if you think that they don't care about, All-Star Week, look at how they responded to the home run derby and to being champions. I mean, they had their kids down there on the field with them. They're playing with each other's kids. They're laughing, they're talking, they're giving each other pointers, and they were sitting there in different languages, speaking Spanish, and you got guys on different teams sitting there saying, wait for the ball, calm down, take, tranquilo, so just take it easy and whatnot. But I thought that was really cool, and it was fun. I loved, and you said there's so many stories that were happening within this. There's another story. No Tampa Bay Ray had ever made it that far. The first Tampa Bay Ray that ever made it to the championship. So, there's something to be said about that too.
Yeah, I would guess there's a lot of teams that could say that.
Yeah, well, I know, but to me, it's like I want to give Randy that credit and that history. I mean, back in 1985, it started with Dave Parker, the first one to ever win the home run derby, a Cincinnati Red, and then he was a runner-up the next year in 1986. But, we go and see this at 1988. It was canceled due to rain. So it was supposed to be at Riverfront Stadium. We never ended up seeing it. But, I mean, when you go through this and you look at it, Ken Griffey Jr. has won 3 of them. And if Pete Alonso ever wins another, he'll tie only Ken Griffey Jr., which is also something special.
Yeah. I'd like to ask you a question, Dan. This doesn't have anything to do with home run derby, but again, I saw a lot of the pregame stuff, the introduction of the players and stuff. And again, I think MLB did a great job of really hyping it up. But there's one thing about watching the game that bothers me to no end. And I'm going to say right off the bat that I'm probably in the minority when I say this, okay?
Okay.
I understand that I'm in the minority. But I have come to, I don't use this word often, but I'm going to use it here. I hate when they are miking the players during the game. And I just find that so uncomfortable and so distracting. To make matters worse, in the second inning, the announcers are trying to talk to Nathan Eovaldi while he's pitching.
Yeah.
And you could tell he's so distracted.
Yeah.
And I understand it's an exhibition game, but I'm still old school. I want the game to be the focus.
Yeah.
And all this chatter with players on the field, to me, it's idle chatter. It's just it's taking the fans' minds off of the game.
Yeah.
And again, being old school, I want the TV production to focus on the game itself. Baseball is a beautiful game, but again, I believe they're succumbing to the pressures of society, and in many ways they're making this to be a Hollywood production.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure Hollywood is the way I want to see baseball go. We've got a good thing going with the game itself, and
yeah.
So I personally am so against even the managers.
Yeah.
During the course of a game, they should all be focused on the game, and isn't that what pregame and postgames shows are for?
Yeah.
Interview them, talk to them.
Yeah.
But during the game, would you please let them play the game and focus on their job?
So is your question what I think about it?
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Being a broadcaster for over 19 years and always wanting to be unique and original in a world that just recycles stuff and pretends like it's theirs. And, so I mean, when I look at what you're saying, I agree with you that it's unnecessary. People are trying so hard to make it entertaining. We can't just show the game, right? We can't just show the game. We have to do something with it. We have to do, we have to have the guys come up with fireworks shooting out of their bats, and they have to be able to hit with a bald eagle on their shoulder, or maybe they put an apple at the top and see what happens. I mean, it's become kind of ridiculous. And so when I'll go back to something that was said to me when I was in college that I disagree with. I was working with somebody at the TV station, and he was the prior station manager of our TV station. We went out to the public. We went out to at least 10,000 people in Northeast PA, and I was at Marywood University. He ran it. I got voted to be the station manager. They had never had a station manager at Marywood that was ever asked to do it twice, and I was given back-to-back years to do it. And so I made history with that, which I'm sure did not make him happy, because we didn't agree with something he said to me in the control room. And he said to me, you need to understand that this sports show has nothing to do with sports. It's about entertainment. We need to entertain the people. Nobody wants to hear about sports. Nobody cares about sports. Nobody likes sports. We need to be entertaining. Entertainment first, sports second. And I was like, well, we're never going to agree, because I'm the opposite. I'm sports first and let it be entertaining. So when, to your point, that conversation was had in like 2004 or 5, and now fast forward to 2023, almost 20 years later, I believe that there are a lot of things, take it out of the All-Star Game. Why do we have to talk to a coach on the sideline during a game? Okay, you look at the NCAA tournament now, and you got a timeout in a do or die trying to win a national championship, and you got Tom Izzo with 13:20 left on the second half clock talking to you when his team is meeting and he's supposed to have a timeout to draw up a play to go over what's going wrong. And it's, hey, coach, how do you feel? Well, I feel like we have to do better. Well, how do you do better? Well, we score more points. All right, coach, thanks. Have a great day. The conversation, there's no meat to it. There's nothing to it. And, and to me, that is where I get frustrated because I can't stand the halftime conversation in college football or the NFL. Because as a broadcaster, my job is to talk with people, not at them and not to them. It's very important. Talk with people and get information that you don't have. But if I talk to a coach at halftime who is trying to get to their locker room, because if they're winning, they want to keep winning. If they're losing, they want to find a way to flip the script. The questions never go anywhere. The answers are usually short and sweet. There's no meat to them, and you could answer them yourself. And I was taught a very long time ago, never ask a question that you have the answer to. So it's, if I can answer for Jim Boeheim, I shouldn't be asking Jim Boeheim. If I can answer for Bill Belichick, I shouldn't be, you missed 12 free throws and you lost by 5. Why do you think you lost? Just walk out of the room. And I think that, so to go off of what you said, yes, the entertainment, let's make this like a reality TV show, like, ooh, it's going to be like Big Brother and The Bachelor. And no, it's a baseball game. Keep it a baseball game. But I'm going to go one step further. Stop interviewing them during the game. Don't talk to them on the sideline, a basketball court, football, whatever. Stop talking to them in the time of play. And please stop talking to them at halftime. Talk to them at the beginning of the game about what they would like to see happen. Speak with them at the end of the game about what did happen. But amidst what is happening, they don't want to talk to you. And just let them do their job because nothing is going to come out. I can cut and paste however many clips you want me to of a coach of any sport saying the same thing. We need to score more points. We need to get better on offense. We need to get better on defense. We need to watch this. We need to watch that. We could get better. We should get better. I think we can get better. There's no reason beyond pregame and postgame to talk to a coach in the midst of play. And I've felt that way more and more because the more conversations I hear, the more I'm sitting here going, literally anybody in the stands could have had that conversation with that broadcaster.
Well, thank you, Dan, for espousing my views to a T. That's exactly my point. And I thought last night they were more guilty than ever as far as miking up all these players and having these meaningless conversations while a good tight game is going on.
Yeah.
And why are you taking us away from that part of it? And I don't mean to be critical here of broadcasters, but I was a journalism minor in college, and one of the things that we were always taught was to avoid asking quantitative questions. And yet I'm hearing this all the time. Somebody hits a game-winning homer, and the interviewer will say, well, how exciting was that? Well, what are they supposed to say? Well, it was about this exciting. No, it was this exciting. No, it was. Come on. It doesn't make sense to ask them how exciting it was. I to be honest, I loved almost everything I saw up until the game started last night, and then it was really, for me, it was kind of frustrating watching it because of all these different distractions.
Yeah, I can agree. I look at it in the, like I said, in the regular season, and I would be the coach where if you said, Coach, you lost 4 games in a row. You just won the fifth. You just won the game now to stop your 4-game losing streak. How does it feel?
There you go.
Terrible.
That's not a quantitative question,
You know what I mean? How does it feel? Terrible. Awful. Oh, I wish we could have kept losing. I wanted to keep the streak going. Why get rid of it? You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, and it was funny because I'm the exclusive multimedia marketing partner with Alfred University. And so they're in Western New York and they just signed on. And I was speaking with Chris Boswell, their director for athletic communications. And he said to me that there was a guy that got in touch with him that he knows in the sports information world. And the team, they had like a football team that had just lost forever. And they finally won a game. And the media, instead of saying, congratulations on finally getting a win, because in our society, we would like to win more than lose. I would think that'd be like in any society. They didn't ask that, Dukes. They said, are you upset that you ended your streak? Do you feel bad?
Goodness.
Do you feel bad that your streak is over? You should have kept the streak going. You've lost for so long. Basically, why did you win?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
Like, what would you do? What would you do if Cash was sitting there, and let's say the Rays had lost 40 in a row, and they win their next game, and somebody says to Cash, "Why didn't you make it 41, dude? Like, we could have hit a record."
Yeah, yeah. No, and again, I don't mean to be critical because obviously they're more professional than I am at this. But having had a taste of it anyway, I've been around journalism a lot. I do get a little more, I guess, critical or judgmental with some of the questions they ask, and some of them are so commonsensical.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely with you. And again, it's not here to be critical of an individual, and it's not here to, like I said, witch hunt anything. It's to talk about the bigger picture of, is it necessary? Is it necessary to ask a coach that had lost a bunch of games how they feel about winning? Is it necessary to mic up somebody in the middle of a game? I mean, again, just watching that NCAA tournament, I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm Tom Izzo, I'm probably going to swear. You know what I mean? Like, I'm probably just going to be like, get out of my face, because like, what do you think I'm doing? And and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going, is this a fake timeout? Because like they're supposed to be sitting and drawing up a play. Like, you don't talk to, like, I will talk if I was a coach and you're nice in the media. Like, if you're disrespectful and you pick my words apart, I'm not going to have time for you. But if you're nice and you're kind and you're honest and you work hard and you're respectful, I would say during a game, like, hey, much love, but I'll talk to you after the game. You know, we'll converse after the game. It's kind of like if you went to the movie theater and in the middle of the movie, you could go, hey, Robert Downey, I don't know if I do my line that way. And then on screen, he turned and he's like, well, then how would you do it? I mean, you're watching a movie. Just watch it. Just stop talking, put your phone down, and watch the movie. And by the way, Dukes, you would have been livid. Because
let the game be the game, for sure.
You would have been livid, though, because I was at a movie a couple weeks ago, and there was a person on their phone with no desire of watching the movie. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you wasted gas, miles, time, energy, and you bought a ticket, and they were just sitting on their phone playing a game.
Oh, man. They were abusing it. Before every movie, they always say, silence your phones. Don't use your phones. They're distracting.
Yeah.
One of the things, again, last night in the interviewing process, that especially when the players who were mic'd up, one of the common questions was always, what does it mean to you to be in the All-Star Game? What have you enjoyed most about this experience? And again, the answers were almost universal. It was great meeting so many of the other guys.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I understand that. But again, that should be done pre and post. Has nothing to do with the game going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, and of course it feels great. It should feel great. How does it feel to be an All-Star? Horrible. It's so fun. Terrible. Yeah. Why would somebody vote for me? But, I do want to make mention of a guy that was on the mound, because he has really cool ties to Central New York. Josiah Gray of the Washington Nationals, in their rotation, one of their pitchers, he is a LeMoyne Dolphin alum, and Josiah had himself a nice time out there on the field yesterday. And so I want to give him a shout out here because the shout out is definitely deserved. In the National League, he was able to go out and pitch here, and he pitched for an inning and had a K. He did not allow any earned runs, no walks, no hits. And so to be in there for an inning, because obviously you got to get all the pitchers in, he had himself a nice outing. And was there anybody, I mean, to me, he was that giant spotlight for me because of LeMoyne and because of that connection. Was there anybody in the All-Star game that you just really, really wanted to see? And, you know, no matter what they did for a few minutes, you were just looking forward to seeing somebody there?
Well, I'd have to say two pitchers who I consider very good friends, both former Rays. Nathan Eovaldi, who I had mentioned earlier, pitched the second inning, and I was hoping he was going to get the start, but you can't argue against Garrett Cole, that's for sure. But he came in the second inning and did a nice job. And then Alex Cobb. I've known Alex for many years now, and both these guys are incredible, incredible human beings. Family men. They're so devoted to their wives and their kids. I just love both of those guys, and I was really happy to see them not only get on the team, but then get into the game and do so well. So that was really special.
So we're in the second half of the season. It's Blessings in Baseball every other Wednesday on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, bi-monthly, Wednesdays 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time with Dukes Knutson and myself, Dan Tortora, here on Wake Up Call. In this second half, where are the Rays, in your opinion? What is the state of Tampa Bay? Because we know how hot they started, and we know that they have been, leading the league as the best team in baseball record-wise for the majority of what we have seen up to this point, and getting to 50 wins, pretty easily, being the first there and moving forward. But there's been some hiccups here and there, which will happen in the run of play in 162 games. Where are the Rays right now?
Good question. If I knew the answer, I could make $1 million. Yeah. They, as you alluded to, they started out 13-0. We know they're not that good. They've lost 7 of their last 8, and it was 7 in a row until the last game of the first half. They're not that bad. Yeah. So they're somewhere in between. That being said, I really believe we're in for a heaven of a race, man. It's going to be Baltimore, I believe, is for real. I don't think the Yankees or the Red Sox are dead, or Toronto. That East is so tough, and so I don't have an answer for you, Dan. I really don't. I just really believe that the East is going to be just a horse race to the end.
Yeah, no, and again, we look at it now. We could argue it before, but the argument today, even more so, that the American League East is arguably the toughest division in baseball. And when we look at all of the teams, all 5 of the teams, that nobody's dead. And there was a time where the Boston Red Sox, I think at 500, would have been leading other divisions with the record that they had. So, we shall see in half number 2. I can't believe we're past half number 1. But I always like to end this with this being Blessings in Baseball. We started it on faith. We ended on faith. Dukes, what is something faith-related that you would love to impart on the people that are watching and listening right now? If you could spread a little cheer, a little positivity in a world that desperately needs it, what would you say?
Oh, gosh, that's a tough one. I go back to the basics. This kind of goes back to what we were talking earlier in the show, Dan. What are your priorities? Mm-hmm. Take a self-evaluation test, and how important is faith to you? If it's as important as you say it is, then make sure you're living that out. If you're not giving it as much attention to as you should be, then make some adjustments in your life to make it the priority it should be. I of course want to encourage everybody to that faith should be your highest priority in life. Because let's face it, we're only going to be here a little while, and then we're going to spend an eternity somewhere, and that's going to be determined by our faith, not by our baseball, not by our jobs, not by our careers, not by our families. Yeah. It's going to be determined by our faith, and so I believe it deserves our highest attention.
When you say it like that, we spend a short time on this rotating, hotel, and an eternity somewhere, either really, really good or not so great. And it's all based on our faith. I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter how much money you have, how many things you have, how much power you have, because at the end of your life, the only currency that God is concerned with is your soul. And that currency is essentially what it looks like at the end of your life. Has your soul been blackened by hate? Has it been overtaken by other things? Or do you bring a light and beautiful, vibrant soul to God? Do you bring a soul that's not perfect, but a soul that still has its light within it? And so, I think when you think about your soul as currency, everything you download into it is very important. All the things you say and all the things you do. So make sure that when you go to heaven someday, you have currency that you want to show God. And I also say it in the way of, if you consider every day of your life to be writing a book, and each day is a chapter, at the end of your life, would you want God to read it out loud, or would you be embarrassed, humiliated to hear it? So if you really think about your life as this is going to be, think about it. Think about today. Everything you do today, if somebody at the end of today transcribed everything and tomorrow morning they got out at a podium and they read your day to the world, what would you think about what would be shared? And if we could live that way, I would like to hope that maybe we would write a better book. So with that being said, Dukes, I always appreciate you. I miss you.
Amen. Love you, man.
I love you too. I miss you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. I know my travels are going to take me to a few different places here, to Dallas and to Charlotte, but I'm itching to go back down to Florida, and when I do, I will look forward to the opportunity of seeing you hopefully soon.
Sounds good to me.
All right, God bless. Take care.
You too.
See you. That coming here from Dukes Knutson here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Always appreciate having Dukes on the show, and always have a good time with Dukes. So if your life, would you be embarrassed? Would you be excited? We don't live a perfect life. None of us lives a perfect life. But if you treat every day like a chapter, would you want somebody to read it? Would you want somebody to read what you said to people, how you said it, what you did, how you acted? Would you like people to read what you did behind closed doors? Would you like people to read your thoughts? Because God, whether or not you believe in God, can see everything, hear everything, know everything. So whether or not you tell God what you're thinking, feeling, saying, doing, He knows. Are you proud of that? Are you proud of that? And I normally would say there's a lot of things that people do behind closed doors. Why do they do it behind closed doors? Because they don't want people to see it. Because if people saw it, they would feel bad. But some people in today's world, they do things out in the open that you would have thought they wouldn't have done. They shouldn't do it all. And if they did it behind closed doors. Now people are doing it out in the open. But would you like to read this back? Do you want your grandmother to see it? There's some souls that are lost, but nobody's lost forever. And no matter how you feel right now, and no matter how lost you feel and how bad your day is going or whatever's going on in your life, you're never completely lost unless you choose that. And who would choose that? So, to those of you that hate the fact that I talk about God, I'm not sorry. And if it makes you not listen to the show, that stinks for you. Because anybody that knows me knows that I've never pushed my faith on anyone. I've never demanded that anybody believes. I don't understand when people don't. But I've never tried to force anybody to believe in God. And in the same respect, I will not let a world that wants to push God out of my life. If I'm the last person believing, then I will proudly stand as the last person believing. Because I would rather die a believer than live a non-believer. And I don't even know how you wake up in the morning and not believe in God. Who do you thank for waking you up? Yourself? You thank yourself? I woke myself up today. I thank my alarm clock. I mean, who do you even thank? When good things happen in your life that seem all too coincidentally perfect, do you really think it was just by accident? If you find love in a world where it's so hard to find a significant other, you think that just happened because nature rolled a dice and your name came up? There's so many things in life that cannot be explained, but with faith it can be. And without God, I don't have anything. I'm not here with you this morning. When my ex-wife and I broke up, it was on a Sunday. My show was on Monday. What do you think got me up in the morning? It wasn't just me. Something inside of me, something that I've worked on and built and cared for. God picked me out of that bed that day and said, I said I'm doing my show. But without God, I would have just stayed in bed. Without God, I wouldn't have started my business. People ask me all the time, how did you start your business? Weren't you scared? Weren't you afraid? You didn't have money. You didn't have this. You didn't have that. Back then, podcasting wasn't a big thing. Internet wasn't a big, I don't know. I guess I didn't think about being afraid because I had God. I honestly felt like I was a little kid sitting down on the floor looking at God going, okay, here's the air in front of us. This is what I want to do with it. And me going, and God going, okay, try this. Okay, do that. And so when people say, how did you create your business? I said it was God and I in the trenches. That's what I say every time. And I watch people's faces because some people, might get offended. And I mean, if you're offended by the truth, which a lot of people are these days, I don't know what to tell you. Because the truth is this thing that always comes out. And it's this thing you can't refute with logic. And it's the thing that eventually beats everything is the truth. That's why I always tell people, whether I like it or not, tell me the truth. Just tell me the truth. I'd rather have you look me in the face and say, I hate you, than tell me that you love me and stab me in the back. I don't think people that hate you are the worst. I think the people that pretend to love you when they actually hate you are the worst. Because fake love is worse than hate to me. And I mean, this world is crazy. How do you live this world without a compass? And God to me is that compass. So, what did they say to the basketball players? Shut up and dribble. What do they say to me? Some people, shut up and talk sports. Which also makes no sense because how can you shut up and talk sports? But can't shut up and talk at the same time. But you know what I mean. You get the gist of the metaphor. No. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. And the world needs to hear it. I'm so sick and tired of broadcasters being so afraid to talk about God. You know, they just can't say it. And I don't know when it happened. I don't know why it happened. And I don't know how it gradually was happening over time and then so swiftly seems like it took over so many. But as Duke said, we're not fighting to stay on earth. We're fighting to get to heaven. So if you ignore God, whose house it is, then how are you going to knock on the door when your life ends? You're going to knock on the door of a house you don't believe exists? That doesn't make any sense. Just like shut up and talk doesn't make any sense. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back right after this on Wake Up Call. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Hope you're having a fantastic morning. Hopefully we've made it better and given you some positive things, some good notes. We had a fantastic conversation with Susan Kim in her first ever conversation since accepting the job at LeMoyne College for the women's volleyball head coaching opportunity. So a big time shout out to Susan and thank you for your time, as well as a big time shout out to Dukes Knutson for DT and Dukes Blessings in Baseball that we have every other Wednesday on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, speaking on faith as well as just being the best you can be as a human being, breaking down the Major League Baseball and broadcasting side of things and some things that we think could change for the better in broadcasting, as well as discussing the All-Star Game, Josiah Gray, and, of course, Randy Arozarena in his trip to the finale of the Home Run Derby this year, which was really, really cool, which started back in 1985, which technically I was not born yet in 1985. It was the year I was born, but the All-Star Game, or the All-Star Weekend, Home Run Derby, all that played before October. So I was not alive for the first one. I've been alive for everyone since when it comes to the Home Run Derby. Just like I wasn't alive when, what was it? Was it Villanova won the championship in 85? And that was in April. So I wasn't alive to see a Big East school not named Syracuse win. So positives. So, but, it's definite. Just having some fun with Villanova. But yeah, no, definitely appreciate everybody being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Appreciate Susan and appreciate Dukes and appreciate you for being with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, both / Wake Up Call DT, as well as on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So, however you're connected with the show, we thank you so much for being a part of it here where sports meets life. And once the shows go live, they hop into the archives, and we're going to be adding a bunch of stuff. I know I said that, and we've had a ton of crazy work going on here, but that's no excuse. So we have a bunch of shows that have been added to YouTube, so make sure you check those out. But we'll be adding audio broadcast pieces to Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Big time thanks to our incredible partners, Carvel DeWitt, where we have the exclusive my exclusive Sunday, the DT Dolphin, which is my connection to the LeMoyne Dolphins, to Carvel, and to our Central and Upstate New York community. You can get yourself a DT Dolphin any day of the week, but on Wednesdays it's buy one, get one. So you can BOGO DT Dolphin tonight, bring a friend with you, family member, go on a date, bring your kids, whatever it may be. You can get a DT Dolphin, buy one, get one free today and Wednesdays at Carvel DeWitt, and you can get the DT Dolphin every day of the week exclusively on 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. It is what happy tastes like. The DT Dolphin, mint chocolate chip ice cream, hot fudge, whipped cream, cherry, green and gold sprinkles, and a chocolate dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream. Go and get it today. Brought to you from Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and the LeMoyne College Dolphin Connection. Mon Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Wildcat Sports Pub, where we will be tomorrow, which will be July 13th. So tomorrow, July 13th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be doing a broadcast for the first time ever with the West Genesee Pop Warner football and cheer teams, which I'm very excited to do that with the community and support the little kids growing up here in our community. So very excited for that. And definitely looking forward to that. 317 at Montgomery Street, as well as Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Watertown, PB&J's Lunchbox, Pizza Man, as well as Great Lakes Honda City, Avicoli's, and of course Mother's Cupboard, where we have our exclusive sandwich there. My exclusive breakfast sandwich is only at Mother's Cupboard, 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York, and you can get it any day of the week, 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. It's called the Cuse McMother, and the Cuse McMother is bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. You can pick it up and eat it like a sandwich, or cut it up and have it with French toast, or have it with syrup. Well, you can have French toast with French toast if you want to, if you're feeling frisky. So make sure you get out to Mother's Cupboard today. I just really want French toast. That's why I keep saying it. So go out and get my sandwich today. I get it all the time because it's so incredibly good. I wouldn't make anything that I didn't want to have any day of the week. So make sure you go and get yours any day of the week at Mother's Cupboard. The Cuse McMother, bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast, cinnamon and sugar on top to give you that sweet and savory, awesome feel. And it's perfect. Because if you know me, when I go get breakfast, I'm usually like, do I want eggs and bacon? Or do I want like French toast, pancakes, something like that? Do I want sweet? Or do I want, more savory? With this breakfast, you get both. And it's not overly stuffing. So you can eat it, feel good about your meal, not feel completely like, oh, I can't breathe. And you get a little bit of everything. Go and get the Cuse McMother at Mother's Cupboard today. And we are very proud to be partnered up with this awesome place, GG Cards and Breaks.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks. So very awesome of a place to go to. And I'm going to be there this week. We're going to be filming our first Same Hobby New Memories broadcast from GG Cards and Breaks with Josh and Anthony, which I can't wait for. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave, and within walking distance of the best bakery that I've ever been to in my life, which is Lincourt Bakery. So go to GG Cards and Breaks today and all throughout the week, Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, Sundays, 10 to 5. They have singles, packs, boxes, as well as your teams on the walls. You can go and grab your Boston Celtics and search through them, see what type of cool inserts and autographs and numbered cards and jersey cards and whatnot are available to you. There's graded cards in the store. There's Magic, there's Pokemon, there's Marvel cards. A lot of awesome stuff. I collected the Marvel cards growing up, so it's cool to see them again. There's some really nice Venom ones. I didn't even know they had Toxin cards, but they do at GG Cards and Breaks. So make sure you go there today. It brings back the nostalgia of being a kid and collecting cards. It helps you to share something with your kids if you're a card collector. If you've never done it before, well, this is a new hobby to start with your friends, your family, your spouse, your little ones, whatever it may be. I have had so many memories wrapped around unwrapping a pack of cards, and GG Cards and Breaks brought me back to that feeling, which is why I want to bring you there so that you can share that feeling at 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave. And we are also proud to be the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your LeMoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life, on AD and DT every first and third Wednesday of each month, featuring Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, every second and fourth Wednesday with the Dolphin Dive, diving into the stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. You can get all of our content with the Dolphins by going to the LeMoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com, as well as by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. For more information on your Dolphins, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com, and as always, fins up. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton Bobcats of Syracuse. The Bobcats come to you every single month with the Bobcat Buzz. We got a really cool couple of episodes coming up for you in the Bobcat Buzz, where I get the coaches together and we do what's called Humblers, which Brian Yurton, the esports head coach, brought up on my show a few weeks ago. He said when he has his esports team, which obviously plays digital video games, he said to me that he has Humblers in his office, which are board games that he has the team play to humble them, because, these strategy games take you away from a controller and put you at a table with a bunch of different games that a lot of us have come to know and love over many decades. So we're going to be playing Jenga as well as Gestures. And that'll be happening in the Bobcat Buzz coming up very soon. You can check out all of our Bobcat content by going to the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com. You can also go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, click subscribe, and search Bobcat Buzz. And for more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. As always, go Bobcats. The Alfred University Saxons are proud exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, bringing you the Saxon Spotlight and Presidential Perspective every single month. Presidential Perspective coming to you on the first and third Mondays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time of each month, and the Saxon Spotlight on the second and fourth Monday of each month. So make sure on Mondays you set it and keep it. Mondays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. All throughout the world, you can watch and listen to our Alfred University Spotlight broadcast, the Presidential Perspective with President Mark Zupan, as well as our Saxon Spotlight with the administration, student athletes, coaches, and more. Can't wait for everything that we're going to be doing with Alfred University and everything we've already done in just a couple weeks, and not even 2 full weeks yet. We've had an amazing, amazing experience with Alfred University and the Saxons. A great response from all of you. And you can see our Saxon content by going to the Alfred U tab on wakeupcalldt.com, subscribing to youtube.com /WakeUpCallDT. And for more information on your Saxons, go to GoSaxons.com. And of course, go Saxons. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, check us out on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, the Twitter at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. A big thanks to Susan Kim and Dukes Knutson once again. A thanks to you, and above all, thanks be to God. God bless, no stress,